Hey, Nathan.
Hey, how are you, bud?
Good.
It's good to talk to you again. It's been like
Me
a while.
too.
Yeah,
I'm going to set up OBS and record it on my end just for some fail-safe measures.
I like it. Thank you. Are you gonna jump on video with me, or are you gonna be audio?
Yes. Oh, I got another video camera open. Hold on a second.
Sure. Take your time. Thank you for letting me. I basically flicked the tip of it off and was like, yeah, I can just finish this later. Are you going to a Red Bull Expo by any chance?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet dude, you are. Good.
Yeah.
I know you're all the way out there. There you are. Hello.
Awesome.
Is that what's your shirt say? Stop Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that before. I like that. That's cool, man.
I think it came from China, but it shrunk when it got here. So always order large when it's coming from China.
That sounds like that's like really good life advice, like a pro tip or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not like tight. All right. What am I wearing today? Oh, I got a crazy shirt on. I'm not gonna, but yeah. I wear so it's Friday today, and Friday is the color green for Venus because today's Venus Day, right? All right, I'll bust it open a little bit. Can I get some? All right, so it's good to see you again. Here we go. It's a crazy. Let me put myself down here. That didn't sound right. You can kind of see the design. It's hard to hold my camera. It's a girl with her face crossed out, and there's a deer. There's a lot of weird shit going on.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a montage.
Yeah, it's got a lot of crazy crap going on in there. It was worth showing you because, I mean, some designer obviously put a lot of effort into this shirt, and it's a really fly color. You don't see that.
Lime green, yeah.
I just thought it was worth the techno music.
Yeah.
So, am I coming through clear here? I sound good. No skips or anything.
Yeah, Mike sounds great.
Excellent. Yeah, this is how I run my podcasts for the Six of Swords and the Six of Cups. I have two more coming out, the Six of Wands and the Six of Stones, because I have to do all four. And this is the setup. This is the studio right here. I have my computer. So if I'm not like always looking directly at you, it's because my screen, my TV's up there. So
I'm up there.
Yeah, you are. So that's why I'm like little difference. I guess I could learn to kind of like do this, but I don't think I'm gonna pull that off.
Yeah.
So what's up, man? What would you like to talk about today?
I don't know. I don't have a starting point.
I could think of like, are there any cool projects that you have going on right now that you can talk about and want to talk about?
Yeah, that's a big question. Multiple of them going on. I guess what I'm most interested to kick off is the voluntary Bellingham meetup. And I had a meeting with Patrick Smith, who does the biggest voluntary meetup in Texas. And so had a good interview with him, got to ask him some questions on some of the concerns that I have. And so me and Joseph, my next door neighbor, Autonomy student, we're going to be starting this off, I think, next month. We just need to get it down on the calendar and make it happen. But we have a good description written up that Deirdre from Australia, another Autonomy student, helped us write up. And now we're just trying to market it to avoid. We're trying to like hone in on who we want at our meetups, and also make it like light, a light entry level, so that anyone just kind of seeing the description, gets curious, comes checks it out, and essentially gets exposed to the non-aggression principle.
Is that no? I mean, we all love Deidre and of course Jofo.
Yeah,
Um, what um, what? Because I know she just did that recent survey and she's really good at writing. She
yeah,
could end up being one of our copywriters or something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
a copywriter, right? But geez, that intro. This is where I was going with that. So you were mentioning, is it okay to talk about this, the intro quiz? I can cut that out if we need to,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's
okay,
perfect.
great. Trying to respect, you know how it goes. So there's an intro quiz that you guys were talking about a little while ago about, are you interested in autonomy? And, you know, basically it will do the thing where it gets you to this landing page or this, you know, this, that. Are you
Mhm.
guys still going with that idea? Is that still in the works?
Yeah, we were playing around with that idea. Basically, fill out a basic quiz at the start of the landing page, and then that will direct you to your specific gem type of answers.
Oh, so that's an interesting new change. I like that a lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's complex, a lot of work. I just want to get at least the basic landing page up right away because yeah, we need it. And so, but that's definitely some advanced strategy to apply.
Um, I like how we're thinking in these ways now, whereas we maybe might have had like zero exposure to, I don't know about you, but one of the things to you know, just to bring autonomy directly into the fore here, one of the things that I'm getting the most value out of is understanding the language of landing pages, of
Mm-hmm.
opt-in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That so now, because I mean, you know, it's a thing. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you don't know the name of this. You know, there's all these worlds, and it's really helpful to kind of get we're starting to phase into proficiency. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And what really locked it in for me is, which happened in autonomy, was this is the like natural process of 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 sales and selling your service and selling your business, but just in a digital form. So it's not this like abstract thing. It's just packaged reality onto a landing page, onto a website page, so you don't have to pitch and sell every time someone comes by. You package it up.
Yeah. You make something that's evergreen. I think
Yeah,
the word we could say is
right.
that's super true about like a lot of what Rich has done. And the first thing that came to mind was that history is if good history is a thing that you can do that fairly amenably with. History lends itself to evergreen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So, have you guys, speaking of history, this kind of like, because I want to roll, I'm going to kind of like, you know, just talk about your project a bit here. Are there going to be like different, really accessible and user friendly and attention time respecting, like history lessons that can give stories of like, you know, like almost like a, um, a virtue play or something like that of different good case examples of what voluntarism and autonomy looks like? Would that be a useful?
Yeah, I'm curious myself on like what this is going to materialize as. I've had several projects in my past that, for instance, I started a peaceful parenting like meetup uh, late last year after my daughter was born, just because I want to like group together like-minded individuals that are interested in um, parenting without um, hitting your children, to say the least.
You're finding the others is how I think Robert Anton Wilson puts it. I think it's Robert Anton Wilson. Find the others, and I
Yeah,
mean it's what we all want. We all want a community of people who we know where they stand,
yeah,
and so we can expect reasonably what their behavior is going to be, so we can plan our lives out in a reasonable manner that is way less chaotic, right?
Exactly. And I've had another project called the Identity Movement, and that's that at the core of that is skill shares and mutual aid groups,
Yeah.
community development.
Cool.
And it was like it was kind of a too big to grasp idea for most. And so this voluntary Bellingham is what we're going to be calling it, is I hope just to be a real simple entrance into like what does living a voluntary life look like, and introducing the golden rule everyone's familiar with. Yeah, I can get on board with that, but can you reflect on your own personal choices and the society that we're living in according to that rule?
Right.
That's the splinter in the mind that you become exposed to, go home, and then explore. And then I'm hoping that, then it opens the door to like mutual aid groups getting together and building community because we share values. And then peaceful parenting can come in underneath that. So I'm hoping this is kind of the spear tip of lots of topics that are important to me.
Yeah.
And a way to introduce it to the broader community.
I could see you guys adding in, like, first of all, that sounds excellent. Where that's intended to go. So I hope it does, because it's about damn time. But I mean, there are those groups I'm sure out there, but obviously it needs more prominence. And I don't mean repetition, but I mean repetition. You know what I mean? Promulgation. So I could see three things that come to mind. Also being, I don't know the word taught, but perpetuated, propagated. I like propagate. Self-defense courses, especially for kids and women.
Yeah.
Permaculture courses for everyone.
Yeah.
And healthy recipes that are based off of the foods that you can grow, like courses in cooking based on foods that you can, whatever your sitch is, but like chicken, eggs, things like that, like whatever you can grow. So like self-sustainability cooking courses or something like that. It's just what comes to mind.
Yeah. It just opens up the doorway.
That's right.
Awareness and having an aware existence.
Yes.
How you connect to your surroundings. So
exactly.
Opens up the door to everything that I'm interested
in. By the way, there's an interesting iteration on that shirt that was it said Soul Wars. About like kind of like what we're talking about, trying to get, I mean, when you look at the large and short of like the spiritual war, I guess it's really getting people to self-actualizingly behave in an empathetic manner when you cut to the core of it, in a rational, aware, empathetic manner. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
That's a whole, yeah.
And empathy is something that you need to, it requires like willpower, and you have to work on being empathetic. The way that I was raised, I went through the school system, and you just naturally, this cultural thing happens around like second grade, where girls are icky and boys are tough. And it just divides and creates this trajectory where anything that has to do with feminism is off limits and a weakness for men. Okay. And so if you express feelings, right, or if you express kindness, right, or anything feminine, you get ostracized or picked on in the group, and so that just put me on a trajectory of being tough and like not giving an F. And I ended up being in my teens and into my 20s, this like really hardened individual where I was willingly exposing myself to violence. I was watching violent movies, listening to really hardcore music, and like never allowing myself to cry. And
it's a big one.
Yeah, and because I shielded up, I armored up so heavily that to be able to connect with another human being and to empathize with what they're going through was extremely difficult. So it was something I had to put a lot of work into to strip all that armor off so that I could actually feel myself, and then I could empathize and connect and feel with others.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And it there's so many things to respond to that, but basically, um, it gets me thinking about how that's not just like necessarily the times we live in, but like that is part of the human incarnatory process. And I'm not drawing the camera too far back here when I say that every lifetime goes through that struggle. And there are some societies that are better at this in through a time that are more, balanced or whatever, or perfect or whatever. But everyone I think we as humans spiritually need to go through that stuff even while we live, um just as a price that we pay for incarnating. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean to belittle it whatsoever, and I'm not. It's very real. I'm by saying that it has to happen, we're acknowledging that it's real. But
Mm-hmm.
it takes a little bit of the personalization of it out of it to a degree, because well, still it's always you and me who have to take care of our own selves first and before we can help other people, which is ultimately true, so that we can have that willpower, because it takes, like you said, willpower to empathize. That takes patience.
Mm-hmm.
Patience is very underrated and in high demand, I think, these
Mm-hmm.
days. Maybe always. But my point was to universalize the theme, because then we can apply that to understanding how we can then move forward in a even more effective manner. I think there's something about understanding it that way that is interrelated. That's just what's on my mind right now.
For sure, for sure. And like I said, with all that armor on, it's it's really easy to not be connected to yourself,
Yeah.
and and because when you are connected, like as I am now, I'm hyper sensitive to the experiences going on in my body, and so when I get put into a situation and like something doesn't feel right, like I can't just ignore that, or that causes chaos in my reality.
Oh yeah, you absolutely need to know yourself that way, like without
Yeah.
a doubt. That's
Just
extremely important.
just yesterday, getting ready for a DJ gig this evening, and they asked, I asked, I was like, hey, do you guys have sound, or do I need to bring my own sound for my set? And they're like, no, we don't have sound, so go ahead and yeah, bring yours. And then they said, is it cool if we use this sound for the rest of the night? And I was like, hmm, I'm feeling really nervous. And I said that. I replied back, I feel nervous because I don't know anyone that's going to be using my speaker system, and I was going to leave early, so I'd be, in a sense, just handing it over, trusting that this party was going to responsibly take care of my stuff. So I responded, I feel nervous, and this is why. So I was sharing myself. I was putting my feelings out there, saying this is what's coming up for me, and which required vulnerability because I was sharing what's real with me, and not just like, yeah, bro, it's cool, bro, even though I don't feel very comfortable with this. So they responded back really empathetically, like, oh, we get it, kind of overly compensating, but they found another strategy, and I said like, well, if you guys don't find sound, let's have that conversation at that point, because I'm open to negotiating. I'm just letting you know what's coming up for me.
Yeah,
And
best way
10
to
years
go.
ago, man, I would have been like, oh, it's cool, bro, it's cool, just
Yeah,
go ahead and take whatever you need and stomp
yeah,
all over it, and if you break it, that's cool too.
yeah.
So
No, not taking care of number one, right? and,
yeah.
and that- and it's like it's part of the chaos of the human understanding, or someone perpetuates the bullshit idea that it's somehow a bad thing to love yourself in that way. And we're not, and I mean, like, instantly, like, the best way to describe the way that people think that self-love turns into, they think of like something like, oh, it's all like Ebenezer Scrooge or Golem or something like that.
Greed. Yeah.
And it's like, I love this metaphor. It's 18 plus, folks, but, or I don't know, depending on where you live in the freaking world. But here, the point is that we don't know. I think we used this the last time we talked, maybe, but for Gnosis or something. But if you don't know what sex is, you can be talking all day to your friends about it and be like, yeah, but you don't know what it is. So it's the same thing with taking care of the self. If you don't know what self-love is, you really can't show it to other people. And I know that we hear that if you don't love yourself, you can't love others. But the sex example, also love involved, is a very useful way to really glue that into place so that people really get, if you don't know what it is, you can't, it's not real. So if you don't know what self-love is, it's not real.
Right. Yeah. And that was that armored up me 10 plus years ago. Yeah. My awareness level was just minuscule compared to what it is now, and that's because I'm voluntarily with vulnerability putting myself out there to experience this stuff, and not just hardening up and removing that input, that sensational input.
Vulnerabilityism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You make me think of like how, because like, of course, I find it very easy to navigate the work of tools, lyrics to express certain concepts, especially emotional or spiritual, metaphysical ones. And when we think about the armor that he talks about, I believe it's in 46:2, soften this old armor, right? Mm-hmm. Hoping I can clear away where stepping through my shadow, 46:2 just ahead of me. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff's about like evolving and learning to integrate your shadow. So my thought process when you were talking about the armors, right, to bring it back to soften this old armor, I think they're talking about the same damaged psyche, emotional, even karmic armor. Karmic armor, that's a cool one. Yeah. And so what I'm basically getting to is that it's like the other aspect of this is the cover to Lateralis when you slide the CD case off and it's got all the technical diagrams all over it. Mm-hmm. The armor is like so that's representing input code processing output, and I can get into that another time with obviously with regards to how it relates to my project. But our projects are mutually, how you say, combined, mutually, maybe it's not, they're mutually beneficial. They're Venn diagram programs, if you will, because they have a similar aim at their core. Mm-hmm. But just to finish the thought, it's like the armor is a bad computer program. It's just that it's like, does it actually exist in my auric field? Well, yes, but is it a real layer by layer thing? Maybe on one level. But it's definitely, the armor is some kind of processing error. It's just where I wanted to go with that. Yeah. Well, when you armor up, you block off not only the bad stuff, but also the good stuff. So it doesn't really serve you. No. And I was, I haven't drank for almost 6 months now. Woo. It's kind of woo. Nice. But it's just like, I can't even tell you how much better. I appreciated not having to apologize every day in the morning. That's what you and me have definitely got some similar. Yeah, we got to, like, if it's a Final Fantasy, we have a similar character skill set level up. Yeah, and so I that's exactly one of the things. Not having to look at my Twitter or my texts and, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't see my face. But it's. Yeah, it's like, because there's this Nathan Lee, right? And there's that Joshua, but then there's Jekyll and then there's Hyde, right? Mm-hmm. And Hyde literally hides until we let him. Until he comes out, yeah, about 10 p.m. He's got his own intentions, that's for sure. So I dig, coffee and cannabis all the way.
1,000,000%.
Mhm.
Jordan, Jordan and I are both big fans of No Agenda. So when I become a knight on No Agenda, what they do is when you give a certain amount to the show, they send you a ring, and you can join the round table where everyone, you request, and when you get your knighting ceremony, you request what food and drink or whatever, hookers and blow, whatever you want. And I've decided to go with Kona coffee and Maui Wowie.
Nice.
It really represents it's I'm bringing myself to the table. So it really, I was like, this is it. It's been there since day one when it popped into my head. But Kona coffee is delightful and Maui Wowie is delightful. So it's a delight.
Quite the pairing.
It is so good. Got this new game.
I'd be open to talking about my like substance history.
Oh yeah, if you'd like to, we can go into that. We absolutely can. Why don't we go there?
It's a hardcore, fun story down memory lane. But I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so all substance, like all alcohol, drugs, it was very like shunned.
Coffee too? Are they like the Mormons?
No, coffee was cool. So yeah, caffeine's fine. But I got kicked out, or I left, and when I was 16, and so I was just talking about this last night, how having no experience whatsoever, but having these taboo subjects, being raised, I really like jumped off the deep end, and once I had full autonomy to be able to do so. So just started off drinking and smoking when I was like 16, 17. And then that progressed. I started selling weed back when it was like dangerous to do so.
Yeah. Still is in some places.
Yeah. And then partying just kept progressing and progressing and progressing. And so I was doing psychedelics. I was tried cocaine, tried crack, tried ketamine, and then ended up trying opiates. And opiates is what really hooked me, starting around like probably 20. And I ended up doing opiates pretty heavily on and off for like over 10 years, from heroin to pharmaceutical pills. But that was really my like go-to. and because like I call it escapism, because it was something physical that I could put into my body and just like take off and not have to deal with how shitty my life was, because I wasn't really responsible and pursuing what made me happy. So this was an easy substitute.
Could I you'll appreciate my what do you call that? Validation, I guess, is one thing that's a weird word to use, but I'm going to use someone from your neck of the woods. In my typical form, I'm going to use song lyrics, and let's see if you recognize so you don't deserve to feel lonely, but those drugs you've got won't make you feel better. Pretty soon you'll find it's the only little part of your life you're keeping together.
Yeah.
Right on, right?
Yep, that's right on the money.
Yeah.
And it started off just like super fun and just something that I would do to enhance kind of the party atmosphere. And then eventually it's like the only thing that mattered.
First, you start using it, then it starts using you.
For sure. So for my like later 20s, like I was really just having big bouts of heavy addiction with opiates, and I'd come up for air and then think like I moved down to the Caribbean, and just to get out of how bad things were when I was living in Seattle, went down to the Caribbean and like started to get a job and get in with the island. And then I remember asking at the bar one night, somebody I was talking to, I was like, so is there any opiates on that I can get? And they're like, no, like actually, like there's plenty of cocaine here, but there's no opiates. And I was like, this is paradise. Like once my brain and my addiction aspects of myself knew I couldn't get it, it stopped thinking about it.
it lifts the burden so much.
Yeah. So
It's
I was
really,
like, this is amazing. I started doing cocaine more, but still, it wasn't my choice, and so it was great. I lived there for about 9 months. Came back to Seattle, moved back in, and was really proud because I wasn't like immediately calling a dealer. Probably 4 or 5 months went by, and then I was like, hey, why not? And then went, bought it, held it in my pocket for like 4 hours, and didn't even like had to jump back into it kind of thing. So I was like feeling really good for myself. Then casually brought it up to my buddy. Then we did it. I did a little bit. I was like, wow, I totally got this under wraps. 3 months later, boom, like back into the same hole that I got myself out of before moving out of the island. So I call it, or I describe it as like an escalator, walking up a downward escalator. And if you stop, if you stop trying to walk up it, it immediately just brings you down. So you have to keep the effort of walking up a downward escalator.
That's an excellent metaphor. I don't think I've ever heard that, so I'm into that. Makes me think of Porcupine Tree. They have an album called Up the Downstair. Kind of makes me think of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, just for people listening to this, it was Elliott Smith who I was quoting from the song Twilight moments ago. It's one of his best songs, I think.
Yeah, nail on the head.
Oh my God, yeah. That's another one. In fact, I have both of those songs on vinyl, just happenstance wise.
Nice.
So yeah, oh yeah, I don't get me started. I'll tell you a weird synchronicity if we can just jump around like I said, good conversations go in circles like that, right?
Sure.
Yeah. There's this turntable I have that I can't. My computer's a laptop. It's a very old laptop. If I move it, it's going to start shaking. So, there's a camera I could point at this, but I have a vinyl player over there, and I was gifted by a friend of mine from a witchcraft temple that I go to for Hecate things sometimes, and he had this turntable that he'd been telling me about for like the longest time, and he finally gives it to me. Okay, it finally gets there. And I'm noticing a strange pattern right now with delayed occurrences and then super magical results with this individual now that I think about it. But my point is that I finally put this, my regular record player that I have, that this one's sitting on top of, stopped working when 33 degrees was 33 RPMs is supposed to be happening. It goes like chipmunk mode. So the belt timer's all off and I can't use it. So I go and I put this, I had the record player. He finally gave it to me. It had been sitting on my floor for months, literally like July to December or something. And I finally, think this one goes. So I used the one he gave me. I'm watching Doctor Who at the time. The very next episode of Doctor Who that I play after I put the new record player up there features that fucking record player in it.
Ah, that's funny. What a coincidence.
Let's all know that we need the big bunny ears around the word coincidence. But yeah, that was just really, I mean, how the hell, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you because we were talking about vinyl, and I was looking at my vinyl player and I'm like, that's a really good story. I have to share that.
Awesome.
Was it a good story or was that crap?
No, good story. I started DJing with vinyl.
Awesome, dude.
So, yeah, I have hundreds. And I actually sold my vinyl player, my turntables for a digital turntable. So I don't have to play them anymore.
How is that? How do you like the digital?
It's awesome. It's everything and more, and a whole lot lighter. I've carried cases of records up mountains with turntables, and it's a pain in the ass.
Good God, man.
I can just grab my laptop and my control deck and go anywhere with it.
Yeah. No, I think in certain situations, the vinyl's maybe a necessity, but these days you can really get away with it. Mm-hmm. The digital.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like, I guess like the only time you would really need vinyl if it's like an intimate setting at this point, right?
Yeah, there is a sound quality to it. So like in someone's home is pleasant, and just something about like something has been lost with the streaming music services and just having
A lot.
everything at your fingertips.
Yeah, a lot's been lost.
Versus putting intentionally putting a track onto the vinyl, and then it plays it, and then it stops, and you have to like get up and consciously choose what to do next. So
Did you know that Tom Petty on Full Moon Fever, for the cassette and CD version of that, added an extra few seconds to the end of what would have been the end of side A? And he says, I'm putting this in here for all the people who still use vinyl. This piece of the track is the amount of time it would take someone to get up and change the vinyl. Now that we've done that, we can continue with the next song.
that's funny.
That's like legendary. That's epic. That's literally like a rock and roll moment. Like he had the insight, and he fucking did it on his own album.
Yeah.
Like, what a star.
Kids
That's
are gonna be like, what the hell is he even talking about?
Right. Well, who the hell these days would even listen to Tom Petty? Like,
Yeah.
I got to see him in Bonnaroo in 2006.
Nice.
Someone had I'm still, as far as drugs, like to kind of tie it back around, I tried cocaine a few times. It makes me calm. I smoke a lot more cigarettes and I drink a lot more beer and whatever, but it makes me calm. So I just don't. I got lucky. I know people who have, man, I know a lot of people, and a lot of these people have had these
That's friends too. Like uppers are downers, downers are uppers.
And they say that I'm lucky that I never got into that coke doesn't affect me. They said I'm extremely lucky that it doesn't do anything to me. The point is, I still think, I was about to say I had a whole bunch of mushroom honey for Tom Petty, which got me into this thought process of, I think psychedelics, DMT, ayahuasca, which is the main ingredient in DMT besides the other plant that allows you to absorb it, or mushrooms, LSD, good LSD, obviously, it goes without saying, and cannabis, and whatever else that I might be missing, sativa, ibogaine, I think that these are good drugs. Like there's like right-hand path, left-hand path magic. I think psychedelics are like right-hand path. I think heroin, opiates, cocaine, ketamine, and so forth, and the like, benzodiazepam, whatever, whatever. That's like the left-hand path of drugs, And
Have you done ketamine?
Huh?
Have you done ketamine?
I would in a controlled. Yeah, I would in a controlled setting.
But it is a tranquilizer, and it's a very psychedelic experience with a higher dose because it will disassociate you from your body.
Interesting. I know is it a cat tranquilizer?
Yeah, but they have different types: cat, dog. I've tried elephant.
Oh, God, Rush Limbaugh version, but yeah. he's a large man. Anyway, so the point is that I was thinking like the one that most people take are probably the cat tranquilizer, though, right? Isn't that the most common?
Yeah, that's the ketamine.
So yeah, no, I've never taken it though, and I would probably under a safe, like reasonable setting just to try it. But then again, who knows? Maybe in the future I'll be like, I've already had these experiences through other means.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
ketamine
where
in another life.
I've been like completely clean for 7-8 years now, since 2012.
It was an apocalypse for some people.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was my red pill time, and as I was saying, being addicted to opiates and pulling myself out of that, I kept trying to like get away from it, but the metaphor I used was that there was like a rope around my neck, and anytime I'd get into a situation, it was like making decisions for me. And through meditation, I finally like found the foundational switches, and I like turned it off. And I distinctly remember turning it off on this deep spiritual level, and then going back into a situation where there was a dealer and we were hanging out and he offered me some. And for the first time, I had the choice. I wasn't just being pulled into the situation of automatic reaction, but I had the choice, like, to do it or to not to do it. And I was like, whoa, I like have the space to have a choice right now.
Yeah,
I
it's
chose
huge.
to do it, but I distinctly remember that space and choice, and that was the last time I ever did it. Because afterwards, I had my autonomy back about it, and I quit doing opiates. I quit doing all uppers. Quit doing hard alcohol. I quit doing weed. I quit doing tobacco, and I can't even drink a half a beer anymore, so I don't even try.
Yeah,
So,
I think we talked about that before. Yeah.
but so I over a course of a year, like I knocked each one out of my reality, and now is one fascinating thing. Once I chose to not do it,
Yeah.
it then appeared in my hologram externally, meaning my roommate at the time, we agreed to have a sober house, but then after I was clean, he started bartending and partying, and then he would bring drugs back into the house. And like I said, you have to like cleanse yourself internally, and then it shows up externally, and you have the same like karmic choice to make.
Interesting.
You can either succumb or like be, hey, it's no big deal being in my reality, or I put the hammer down. My roommate, we agreed to have no drugs in the house, but my roommate was obviously doing them. And then he went off to work one day, and his alarm in his bedroom went off in the afternoon. So I walked in there to shut off his alarm, his annoying alarm, and there is like a bunch of residue and straw and all this stuff right there. So like unconsciously, he was bringing this to my attention. And so then I dealt with it externally and ejected it out of my hologram. And that's when it was like complete, where now I don't even run into those situations because I've cleared it out.
That's interesting. It's almost as if like if there's something that sets up challenges, it's not just so loose as random patterns. It seems like maybe in your karma you've actually kicked this, and now there's other things that you have to move on to.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, there was a progression of hard drugs down to like soft drugs, down to just weed, and even
you answered my question. Thank you. Yeah, because I was going to ask you what was the order that you dissolved that from your being or essence.
Tobacco was the most difficult, actually.
Dude,
because it's so commonly easily accessible, and at least back then, 8 years ago, it definitely was. It's definitely not as culturally now, but
the prices are fucking evil.
Yeah.
But is that what you're talking about?
That was the last and most difficult one to eject.
Is that what you're talking about with like like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, it was easier to get because of the pricing?
Cigarettes?
Yeah.
Just socially acceptable to smoke.
Oh. Yeah, they've really been pissed on. You know, I tend to have good luck with that where I just, I'm either just doing my thing and I don't. But once in a while, you get that social poor skilled person. That's surprisingly went nicer.
Making judgments at you.
Yeah, but they'll like cough when they go by you, and I'm like, I hope you feel better. Kill you with kindness. But yeah, no, they're doing it, and it's just such a petty thing, like in a cartoon when there's a dainty madam who like, like she gets like so frilly over nothing. Like, there's a horse in her punch or something. There's nothing to be upset. It's a fucking horse. Let it drink the punch. So anyways, the horse gets in the punch, and now she's like, oh, dear. And so it's kind of like the same energy or whatever. It's got a similar taste.
Well, they're not choosing to actually like engage you. They're choosing to like
passive aggressive,
passively aggressively
fucking awful.
try and make you uncomfortable. Instead of like, hey, I'm like outdoors, and
Yep.
would you be willing to not smoke while I'm around you? That's a choice that I'm allowing you. And in order for that to be a choice, I have to be okay with either a yes or a no. Because if it's not, if I'm like guilt tripping you, and I only want a yes, that's not an actual choice.
They could always, it's like I'm choosing to stand there. They can choose to walk the fuck somewhere else, and that's my suggestion to them. Because I was here smoking this cigarette, and if you walk, not you, right? But
Yeah.
person X walks up to me. Well, you and I would probably share a cigarette or something, but the person X walks up to us and it's like, I'm like, dude, you're causing a problem. Like you're you're antisocial right now. You need to do something else.
In reflection, I really saw myself toxifying my body with substances as like a spiritual defense.
Yeah.
That, like, with my body being so toxic, anything kind of around me, like, didn't want nothing of this body because of how toxic I kept it. But
I'm laughing because I've been in the same. I'm laughing because I've been there, man. That's what I'm.
I think tobacco is an aspect of it. Shamans use that while they're doing rituals as a way to for natural defense. And as I gained a spiritual foundation and a natural control over myself, then I no longer needed those. And so now I'm confident in my self-defense on all levels, that I don't need substances for that purpose.
And that's liberating. Like that's part of it's just like self-love so you can love others. That's autonomy so you can help others be autonomous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of my stance with psychedelics. I've had over 100 psychedelic experiences, and I've had subjective experiences that validate the different forms of reality for me. And I know that I can't convince you of my experiences, but I've validated things for myself. And so I have no need to do substance psychedelics anymore, because I know that I have a natural ability to reach those states through meditation and my spiritual path. And I've learned that when you introduce those substances into your body, you're harming your natural ability to be able to reach those states, because you're creating misfiring DNA sequences from that random psychedelic chemical in your body, and that's what's creating these altered experiences. But you're harming that natural progression up to those experiences because you're smashing it into your existence.
That's kind of, I'll be honest, that's hard for me to conceptualize right now. That's like a longer conversation thing, but I'm glad you could put that out there. I don't know what to think about that right now. When you got to DNA, that really, I went whoop.
Yeah.
I went left.
Well, the 46 and 2 is all about evolution into a new physical form, correct?
I just want to add, is it real, like for Down syndrome and things like that? Isn't that when 2 chromosomes are added as well? Isn't there something like going on with that, or there's an extra pair? That's just, it's something that I know exists, and the reason that certain impairments occur in nature as such is because of an extra coding gene pair. I think that's what that is. So I'm not saying that's what they're writing about, because there are authors, because what is Tool working off of, right? Think about it. What's their source material?
Mm-hmm.
Inspiring them? Where are the ideas coming from? There were old writers back in the 70s and stuff like that talking about how humans were going to evolve and get a base pair or something like that. And I think they meant it in getting a new pair that would activate other things that are latent in our DNA and make us enlightened, obviously not about becoming handicapped or whatever, which is an interesting spin to put on it, because that shows how multi-layered Tool could make a thought or just maybe it's just the pure archetypal forces with which they're playing that lends itself so freely to this. My point being that they were saying that common humans already have evolved into, it's not a nice word, but you get the point, into people who have no critical thought process, or can't take care of themselves or whatever. And maybe that's one way they're saying that it's not even just about let's evolve. It's about people have already evolved into something so shitty, but now let's move it to the next level and, have some hope from that. And, that's tragic. Let's have the hope. And there is an evolution that we could move into. I don't know.
I'll wrap this up with a theory that I prescribe to. And I'm a big proponent of space weather and watching the sun and its activity and how it affects Earth.
Absolutely. Quite on the point.
So our magnetosphere is actually shrinking. It's on a really quick trajectory of becoming weaker. And to quickly explain this, when the sun gives off solar flares and solar activity, it hits the Earth, and the magnetosphere strengthens in response to it. And so when there's a lot of solar activity, our magnetosphere gets stronger and bigger and can absorb that easier. But when there's less solar activity, our magnetosphere weakens and becomes closer and closer to the surface. Meanwhile, there is gamma rays coming from the rest of the galaxy. And these gamma rays are flying through the solar system. And when our magnetosphere is weak, like it is right now because of minimal solar activity, these gamma rays are coming into our atmosphere and coming closer to the surface, interacting with us as antennas. Now, gamma rays, just like you think of the Incredible Hulk, interact with our body and our genes and our DNA. And I really believe it has to do with your mentality going into this, because if you're afraid of these gamma rays or have fear about that entering into your system, it's going to manifest as damage to your body. But if you are open to evolution and growth, then these gamma rays are going to activate genes that are dormant in order for us to bring us back to our potential.
So I guess I'll finish that point by saying, learn to swim.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly another way to interpret that. That's what it is. You have to be able to embrace that. And by the way, that's also in the Holy Gift about talking about being able to watch the weather change, right? To be in that receptive state where you're not fearful and blocked up and have a jagged shell, but can just flow. And it's a sensory input that it is. So, you let it go in, you process it with a calm and evolved state of mind, including empathy and personal reflection. And
constant self-assessment.
What is it?
Constant self-assessment.
And as well as the trivium and the quadrivium. And, basically this all builds from parabola, and the story builds up. And the state that you achieve is an empathetic flow state wherein you would not be feeling fear, but you would be feeling peace and be learning to swim. It's the state of swimming.
Yeah. So that's the eye of the hurricane. It's the eye of the hurricane.
I like that. I'll have to think about that. That requires digestion. So this has been lovely.
Yeah, fantastic. I've enjoyed my discussion.
I've enjoyed it too. Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I'm really excited about wrapping up season 1 of Autonomy. Everyone has done some massive growth through it. I know some downtime and retrospection will be beneficial to everybody, along with actually getting the rubber on the road and applying this to all our many projects and supporting each other now that we have developed a community. So really excited for that next phase. Red Pill is right around the corner. I'm trying not to think about it too much out of containing that excitement, but I'm excited to go on a road trip, visit all these people that have been digitally my friends for months now, and meet you in the real, and yeah, really enjoy educational and community, like, yeah, educational, and be able to meet everyone face to face weekend. So looking forward to that.
It's gonna be fun. We're talking about like what, the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Am I getting that right?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Connecticut.
So you're yeah, exactly. So you're actually driving all the way over.
No way. I'm flying with
Okay.
my wife, my baby, and my in-laws. They're all going to a family reunion while I'm skirting off to the expo center.
All right, I heard road trip, and I was like, you meant like not like literal.
Yeah.
All right, all right. I just now that's why I had to ask you. I'm like, is he
Sure,
actually driving?
if
Crap.
I
That's
had time, that'd be awesome. I'd be down for that.
I mean, like the old '70s thing, right? Get the Cadillac. Well, I guess if you and I were way back in the day, we'd have a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas kind of thing going on.
I haven't done that, you know.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna as we began, we shall end. So a perfect circle. I can finish off what I was making us. We were a little delayed, but it has nothing to do with the fact that I was up until 5 a.m. and have very little sleep. It has nothing to do with that.
Awesome.
All right, bro. Well, we'll put this out there. We'll clean up the whatever we can figure out. We'll do all the housekeeping on the end. So for
Great.
now, Joshua Hale,
Cheers.
bid you adieu, my good friend.
Awesome. Take care, Nate.
Later.